Milking time waiting room. All right, guys. 9 o'clock on the dot. Riven showcase. Redeem the blade. Something the past. Is there sound? I don't hear any sound.
Break the ties that bind.
What? Hello? Riven. When you gain the attack token, Reforge, and she levels up when you see Blade of Exile. That is important. We have sound. Okay, it's just me that doesn't. Okay, I got it. This is actually important. This is a lot better than she could have been. A lot of people were thinking that she'd level up when you used Blade of Exile on her, and that is really bad. That's really bad because that gets countered by everything. You just have to complete the blade and she levels up. She's got a great stat line. She's got a great body. 3 mana, 3/4, just vanilla stats.
Conflict
and you get some free reforges. Not bad, not bad.
What is broken can be.
Why isn't it up Behold? That's a good question. Why isn't it just called Behold? Oh yeah. Reforge it to gain its full power. So, you guys are saying you can, like, rally?
I sense their power.
It seems very unlikely that you'd use rally in this deck, personally. But, I mean, you do get it every 2 turns for free. Alright, let's see what this level up does.
No turning back now. Fly to them on broken wings.
When you gain the attack token Reforge again, when my power is increased for the first time each round, increase it by twice as much. Increase it by twice as much. So it's a redouble effect. I mean, it's really funny. Basically, it means that the blade that normally does 2 is instead going to do 4. The best usage of this is Battle Fury, probably. Like, Battle Fury by far. Might will give this +6. She needs Overwhelm. She does need Overwhelm. I mean, the nuts is like Kato plus Battle Fury or something like that, right? Like, that's really crazy. Kato plus Battle Fury.
Reforged, redeemed.
Battle Fury is probably overkill, but Kato plus something. Honestly, just Kato alone's not bad. Might alone's not bad.
The time for talk is over.
Riven, come face me!
I wondered if I'd see you again. Awaken.
Nox Kreia Arena.
My brain!
What was the point of that? Wait. Why is Nox Kreia Arena find itself into this clip? Like, that didn't even have to be here. They just wanted to show it off.
Follow the wind, but watch your back.
Broken wings need
When
no
did this
wind to
Yasuo
carry
get on the
them.
board? What?
At last, a way forward.
Okay. There wasn't a Yasuo there? That was a straight up continuity error. There was just a Yasuo on the board. What the hell? Alright. Anyway. Usually when they reveal champions, there's going to be a couple of more cards here. Let's check it. Alright. We've got here Sharpened Resolve. Go ahead and make sure it's... Yeah, we can do this. We can do one of these. Sharpened Resolve, which is 3 mana, give an ally 3/2 this round. So it's kind of like a worse Sharp Sight. Notably worse Sharp Sight. The fact that this is 3 mana for that 1 extra attack point. And, I mean, blocking elusives doesn't matter that much, but it is a nice bonus on top. It's an alright card. Definitely could see play in some decks. I like this picture of Riven, actually. This is doing all kinds of things. Step on me, Riven. Alright, survival skills. Allies can't drop below 1 health this round, which is a really funny effect. When discarded, your strongest ally can't drop below 1 health this round. Whoa! Whoa! That's really interesting. Cam. It's a hair cam. That's fine. That's what we're here for. So it's a slow speed effect. I mean, to be honest, it's a little scary. It's a little scary. It's a 5-minute slow speed. This one's hard to evaluate. It's a 5-minute slow speed spell. It's a scary thing to have with Draven. And it works on its own. It works on its own. Like, you can cast this. If they try to develop in like a mid-range mirror, you can cast this. You can use this to be able to develop into Ruination. It does not work against Ruination. Yeah, I was gonna say, I like any destroy effects still kill it, right? I'm pretty sure. It only helps with things that actually just deal damage, right? Out of the way with survival skills. We don't know if this would work with out of the way. So out of the way, the Targon KDA card that makes temporary buffs permanent. We don't know if this is like coded to be like a buff or just like a turn effect. It's very possible it would work with it. Like it's likely, but I mean, I could definitely see a weird logic where it doesn't. Keep in mind, we can never be sure because there's a lot of weird like Riot wording and logic kind of stuff. The thing with survival skills that's most interesting is that we've had for a while this idea of running Draven in more mid-range style decks, and it's never really been as good. Most of the discard target cards favor an aggro playstyle than a mid-range playstyle. But like in a beefier mid-range deck, the fact that this has the ability to be used like for vanilla value in some like mid-range mirror scenarios, and also it can be a potential discard target that can force the opponent to have to play around it. There's like that could actually make a lot of sense. However, the fact that, and I'm pretty sure, we don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure that anything that says destroy or obliterate will go through this, right? It will still go through this. It's just about taking damage. They can't take damage. And we know that because of the way the elephant works. A vengeance even, yeah, vengeance would still work. So overall, this is it's a crazy concept. It's a crazy effect. I don't know if this will be hitting competitive concepts right away, just because it'll still die to a lot of things, right? Like the fact that you can't use it into like Ruination is kind of a big limiter for this, right? If it had the ability to like beat Ruination and let you develop, that would be maybe something. These are the final Noxus cards. Yeah, these are the final Noxus cards of the set. So yeah, that's survival skills in a nutshell. Really interesting effects. I'm not sure if it'll see play at 5 minutes slow, but I definitely love having unique effects like this in the game. Okay, so now, you know, we can also see Riven's champion card is the hilt, the like spell reforge card. So now we have to go back. Now we have to go back and look at the whole package. Not just Riven, not just her card, not just her underwear, but the fact that we have all the, wait, where was it? Did they ever, was it ever, it wasn't even on their twit, right? The Twitter? It was, wait, where the heck was it? Because they revealed it on the thing. Yeah, this. Okay. All right, so we have the full blade package. You are playing a bunch of fairly weak units, but they're giving you tokens, which eventually give you Blade of the Exile. You need to reforge 3 times to get Blade of the Exile, period. Well, you need to you need to reforge 3 times and then cast the 3 abilities. When you reforge, it gets you a fragment that you don't have yet. So you only need to reforge 3 times and then pay the 3 mana total. You know, obviously it doesn't have to be in exactly that order, but pay the 3 mana total to get the Blade. Blade isn't really a great card in and of itself. It gets countered by a lot of things. It's slow speed before an attack usually. It gets countered by basically everything in the game, which is a little nasty, but you've got a really great safety net, which is the fact that even without playing Blade, Riven levels up off of it. Riven's got a great body, 3-4 for 3, which is a good stat line that we haven't really seen a ton of. In fact, it's actually, we've barely seen 3 mana 3/4s in Runeterra, and it's a solid stat line. It's a solid stat line. And she will reforge probably once on her own. I think like this will happen like every 2 turns. We cannot really assume this is going to be happening more than once off of her, but on average it'll happen once for value, which means that we only need to play probably 2 of the reforged cards plus some amount of combat tricks to get Riven to level. The level for free gives her +1/+1 and this scary like blowout potential card. So what I see here, it's a sort of cheesy card in that you play it in a Noxus deck. I think this is a very aggressive card that is trying to play for blowout. I'll give you an example of like something that feels very similar to me is Noxus Taric. Now, I know Taric has developed a reputation for not being a great card, and I'm not saying Riven's going to be bad as Taric is, but at the very start of like Taric, when Taric first came out, a lot of people kind of agreed that the most competitive way of playing Taric, which is Trolley, but the way that actually was able to steal the most games was just Noxus Taric and using his double up ability to just clone Might and stuff like that and just have these blowout memes. And Riven's level up does kind of the same thing. You play her in like a Noxus aggro deck that's built around her, and it is just kind of a punchy blowout card, right? In addition to that, we can definitely, like, if we want to, decks that have synergy with this concept, like, for example, let's say Victor. Victor likes these created cards, so a lot of people are going to be thinking, okay, Victor and Riven do have this synergy. Can we play them together? It's definitely not impossible. Riven is just, like I said, she's got a good stat line, and she gives you at least a free reforge. I don't think there's going to be enough reason for a Victor deck to be a Noxus, personally. That's kind of the biggest issue. Like, Riven is okay with Victor, but the rest of Noxus I don't think is quite good enough, with the exception of literally like a Draven Ezreal style deck, which Riven wouldn't fit into. I think that she'll hit a lot of decks. Where I see the most potential with her, in terms of like trying to get value out of her level up, where I see the most potential with Riven is just simply a deck that's built kind of solely around her, which like a Noxus kind of cheesy aggro deck. Keep in mind, Noxus aggro has actually a lot of powerful tools. It doesn't have to be like pure cheese. It doesn't have to be something that relies on the opponent not doing something to get blown out. But I think that's kind of the best way to get value out of her level up. However, what I will say, and this is a consistent theme, by the way, because listen up, this is important. What I will say about Riven is something that I will also say about a lot of the champions in the game, and also every other champion in this expansion. Riven, Victor, and Zoe. Which is that the most important thing, if we want to use this card competitively, it's not going to be about the level up. The same is true with Victor, and the same is true with Zoe, in my opinion. Of course, we don't know for sure. These are weird cards to evaluate, but that's what I'm guessing. Because when we look at Riven, it's about the fact that she's a 3-mana 3/4, and you can basically guarantee she'll reforge once for free. I think a lot of decks that might run it so effectively are going to literally just use her for that, right? The token can be used in a lot of ways. You know, the opponent doesn't know, what reforge you have, which can actually make it a little bit awkward to play around. It can't be cast at normal burst speed, but it's still something they have to be aware of. And in theory, it's sort of like a inevitable must-kill engine. Think about it like Misfortune in a deck like that, where, after, like, if they don't kill it for, like, 5 turns or something like that, it actually will level up, right? And that's really important to understand. Like, even if we don't build around her, even if we're not playing the other reforged, the little reforged units, Riven is a card that will generate good value, and if the opponent doesn't remove her in like 5 turns, will actually level up on her own. And that will happen in some games. Not super commonly, because of course we're not building the deck I'm talking about isn't a build around. We're not like sacrificing card slots for this, but it's still part of the pressure with her. Like, the opponent will have to remove her, which is great. Okay. And as I mentioned, I really feel the same way about Zoe for sure. Zoe, I'm very confident of, like, for the most part. She is just going to be a card that a lot of people look at her as like a bad card because they're like, oh, she's so hard to level up. She's not amazing, don't get me wrong. I don't think she's as bad as people think. She really, like, if you play her level 1, if she attacks once, generates a star chart, and the opponent has to remove her, and That's good value already. That's great, right? In my opinion, Victor is the same way. I'm less confident about Victor, but Victor will ultimately be a similar kind of thing where his level up isn't as good. You know, his level up's not amazing. Where's Victor all the way down here? Victor's level up isn't amazing. And mostly I think you're playing him for his level 1 form, right? You want the ability to, you know, create these little things. You can use them in a lot of ways. They can put pressure on, they can augment him or the bot, the little 2 mana 1/3 bot, or you can just, you know, eventually, like, even if you're not building around leveling him up, it will happen sometimes, right? And it's more about the pressure that the opponent has to have, which is that if they don't remove him, they will lose, which will often force the opponent to use really awkward removal trying to deal with it, right? I think we have to think a lot of these kinds of champions. Look at all 3 champions. All three of these champions are kind of engines that are slow to level, but still force removal. And it's similar to like Fiora. Fiora's normally not winning the game on her own, so she sometimes does. But most of why she's annoying is just because she forces the opponent to do something about it, which can cause them to do something very awkward. They might have to vengeance her when you tap under deny or something like that, which they really don't want to do, right? And there's value in that. There's a ton of value in that. Okay, so anyway, that's kind of like the general consensus here. I would say if we want to be, you know, looking at the card's most competitive forms, the best decks for stuff like Riven is probably just finding ways to use her body as a 3 mana 3/4 in a very non-committal way. Sharpened Resolve is actually a potential card. It's not a super amazing card in the same way that Sharpsight is super amazing, but there's something that's really, really important about Sharpened Resolve, which is that it represents a very, very, very unique property, which is Noxus being able to do a defensive combat trick, a combat trick that gives health. Now, some of you guys will be like, well, technically Transfusion was kind of a thing that did that, sort of. And it kind of is. There's some decks that might not be able to use Transfusion that would use this. The identity of like a Noxus mid-range deck gets a lot better. Noxus hasn't really been able to play proper mid-range yet. With these new cards, with Riven, with Sharpened Resolve, and even some people might argue with Survival Skills, I think we'll be able to see that kind of Noxus mid-range deck with these kinds of combat tricks that are, you know, double swinging combats, right? In the same way that a Sharpsight would swing it. Okay, so I think Sharpened Resolve is pretty good. Survival Skills, super interesting, but I don't see a way for this to become consistent yet. I know it's a crazy effect, and there's a chance it'll work with Out the Way, is it called? For sure. And if it works with that, I mean, to be honest, I think that would also be a meme. Like, even if Get Out the Way works with Survival Skills, you won't have a board. Like, you're double floating into Out the Way on 3, and then you can play like a couple of units. They're not going to be strong units, and then you can try to Survival Skills if they're still alive on like 7, but it's too much mana and you won't have the board, right? So even Out the Way Survival Skills, I know if that works, it's a funny meme, but there's no way that's actually competitive. And Survival Skills, even without Out the Way, I just don't see a way to use it yet. Yeah, I think that's it. So I guess at this point, maybe we'll start trying to build ways of using Riven.